Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
I'll be back. But hey, Hillbilly, why don't you greet everybody real quick while I go shut the wife's door?
All right. How's everybody doing this morning? How you doing today, Ace?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on this morning.
It's a pleasure having you on. What about you, Kogi Dude?
Good, you do it. I'm doing well, doing great. Just enjoyed my son's show, so I thought I'd support him. You know, I like meeting new people, so pretty cool. You know, I don't know, Richie, or I can't see your Ace MTG.
Oh yeah. Ace MTG.
What about you, MV Magic? How you doing today?
Slight hangover, but I'll be fine.
Well, so
Richie, how you doing today?
I'm just happy to be here. I'm surprised to be invited back after last night. Glad to be here.
It's good to have all y'all on here.
Thank you, MTG Hillbilly. You're awesome. So I want to highlight Ace MTG here. I actually made him a command because you know how well I am with commands. So if you're ever on one of my lives and you're not on the live or you're in the live, you just type an exclamation point ACE. You enter that, and a sweet little link will pop up for your channel.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. That's how I try to make people feel welcome and, you know, let them be part of the creep, because that's what we're trying to do, because we try to get people in, get people to feel good. And if they want to come back, we want them to feel good to come back, you know. And I want to point out that I've watched some of Ace MTG's videos. I just don't invite people on the whim. I watch their videos and I'm like, these people have a unique perspective. And I like it because the whole karate aspect was a very unique spin on how you grade decks.
Yeah, I mean, so originally people were talking about like, oh, you want to have your image on a thumbnail, things like that. I was like, all right, well, let's put my two hobbies together, have fun with it. And I already knew I was going to like rate decks, things like that. So jiu-jitsu, we have a belt system. Let's rate every deck on a belt system, you know, kind of a little hook catch. A lot of people go and they show up and like, oh, what in the world is this karate dude doing with magic? It makes no sense. I'm like, yeah, there's not much correlation, but have fun with it. My two hobbies. So I put them together.
Oh yeah, well, it's unique to me because the game shop I attended to in Utah for many years, the owner actually had a karate studio next door, and he taught karate on the side and ran a LGS at the same time.
Cool.
So I thought that was unique. So it kind of hit me in the heart space of remembering where I came up in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I like it too because it branches out in my community. I have a lot of members who are like, oh, I train too, things like that. Don't see a lot of people who play Magic and do jiu-jitsu. A lot of people don't think there's much correlation, things like that. But I mean, at least in jiu-jitsu. So I call my subscribers the nerd assassins because if you've ever met a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, I mean, like we're into like comic books, we're into Star Wars, we're into all those things. And you'll get these guys who seem super geeky, riding that scooter, glasses, and they'll just absolutely kill you. So it's like, all right, that's a perfect little name for my subscribers too.
That is awesome. Yeah. And I think it's really cool because one thing that I think correlates into playing Magic and learning, like, you know, a martial arts is a form of discipline that doesn't get really seen a lot because like I made play mistakes all day long growing up, and I still make play mistakes, but the more disciplined you're at one thing, the better you get with it, and the more you care for it, and the more you pay attention to it. I think that's a very well-rounded theme that you got going on there.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest things too, is like I'm usually fairly level-headed. I'll make some bonehead mistakes and people love to point them out, but it's like it doesn't really change my play style. I'm just pretty constant, never go too high, get too low. So
yeah, I was watching you draft the other day, wondering why you passed up a Karmic Justice. I'm like, why? But you know, it worked out. Woo! So here's the question. The question today: is it better to play Magic from home? Because I see like the weird thought, because I was reading up on Reddit. Sometimes I traverse that derogatory area of life.
The dark side
And-
of the internet.
The dark side. And people were asking in a Reddit post, what is standard dead? And I'm like, that's a good question, because I don't think standard is dead, but how you buy cards is definitely changed, because it's cheaper to buy cards and product online now than it is at your local LGS. Now, is that hindering people? Do you feel weird going into a store and not planning on buying anything and playing only games?
Can I interject? I don't
Yes.
think it's not always cheaper to buy online though. I found that sometimes you'll find that my LGS can give you like the MSRP where everybody else online is like scalping. So
That is very true. That is one of those cases where it does happen. And yeah, you can always interject, Richie.
I'll say for myself, like I haven't played an LGS in a while, but if I go back in, and what I did love about it is like I don't like buying cards personally through the internet. Like I want it to show up pristine. I want to see that card I'm about to put in. And so it's like the here or there card, I'll definitely buy at my local game store. And then all my sleeves, things like that, even if it's that slight markup, I always felt like those are the things I'm mostly buying. And then I would also, I mean, LGS, that's where I go to draft and things like that. So of course you're buying their packs, you're supporting them in that way. So, I mean, yeah, maybe if there's a Sheldred, I'm saving $20, but if I'm talking about $1, things like that, it's providing me that area to actually play. Overall, though, yeah, I prefer to play online because I'm getting tons of games in an hour where I'm sitting there waiting on somebody to play, things like that. But as far as me buying actual physical cards, I want to go in. I want to see that card. I want to know the quality it's coming to me in.
Right. No, it makes sense. Because like the saddest thing for me is though the LGS that sells singles only or sells singles is too far away from me. The LGS closest to me only sells product, which is fine. We'll buy product from them. And the one place I can go sifting through cards is not even a LGS. It's a shop called Video Games Etc., which is a video game shop, and they sell Magic. And that's the only place I can do the old-fashioned let's look through binders kind of place.
And that's true. There's a lot of people, depending on where you live, too. Like, you might go to get a pack at a Target because that's all you have around you. And so, I mean, for some people, they just don't have that opportunity. And I mean, a lot of us, if we even have to drive 20 minutes, we're like, that's too inconvenient. But I know some of my friends, middle of the country, things like that, they would have to go like an hour and a half to get to their local game store. So that's not reasonable for some.
I used to, back in Wisconsin, there was a Target that was about I think 10-15 minute bike ride away from my house, and I would have to bike, like I would have to save up money on like birthdays, Christmas, all that, and have to physically bike down there because my parents would just never take me to a game store because they'd be like, oh, you're just gonna go buy cards and all that. I'm like, yeah, I want to buy cards, but that's the only way to do it. So I'd bike down there and get the most recent set, get a few bundles or something, and have fun.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Oh man, dude, I used to walk miles beyond miles just to get to game shop. Now I'm that older. It's tough for me, you know. Being older, it's tough to get the energy and the oomph to go out and get that walk in that I used to back in the day. But I notice a lot of people are not walking as much to their game stores, and at least we got a good bus system here in Iowa. But at the same time, I've noticed that since Spell Tables come around, Spell Tables been like the premier way to play Magic, and sadly, and in a good way, it's both sad and good that it's been able to keep my interest in Magic alive to be able to play the game, like last night. You know, so like it seems like there's a lot of at-home play. In fact, every Monday we have a game night at home, even if it's not a big game night. At home seems to be the best place to play. Like, maybe it's because I'm older. Who knows? But like, I don't see a lot of stories coming from the game shops like they used to. You know, then there's a different generation coming, and I'm curious to see how that's going to work out and pan out. Because I think one of the things that changed the aspect of it is the direct sales that WotC has with Amazon and places like that. Well, I could be wrong, but you guys can.
Well, the other thing I would like to say about that is Commander has become huge. And there's the one aspect where a lot of people think, okay, Commander is what makes that local game store so prevalent now. All these people are going there and playing it. The only problem with that is, oh, thank you so much for the sub. But you go to the local game store and yeah, you got your group of 4, you're playing Commander. Well, that game might take an hour. So if you're kind of on the outs, you're sitting around a long time. So a lot of people now, they're finding their good group of 4 or good group of 8, something like that. And they're doing it from their own home instead of going to that local game store, and they just have their Commander night or whatever. Where when you have standard, fine, I go in, I get the game over 20 minutes. I got that next opponent. And so Commander is great for that community involvement, but I feel like a lot of people are now kind of developing a little bit of their pods with Commander as well, instead of going in.
Right. And you know, when I was attending the stores, attended the store like a madman, that was definitely clicky. And I think it's become less idea of a click to more hanging out with people you're just more comfortable with online now. Because clicky suggests that you're all in the same place. I think like you're all in the same place, but people hang out with different people. And on the internet, you just hang out with the people that make you feel good. Like Richard makes me feel good. Hillbilly makes me feel good. People I hang out with all the time, and people I play Magic with. And because like one time I tried doing a stream, I'd go onto Spell Table and I would say, hey, I'm streaming a game. If you want to join, click here and join, just know you're streaming and, watch your mouth. And one time I had someone say so many words that you shouldn't say online that I had to delete the live and I had to quit the game. I'm like, nope. So that kind of forced me to be clicky to do the subscriber game night.
That's one reason why. That's one reason why my channel is PG. I don't swear at all on my channel. The closest word I say to a swear word is dag blaggit.
Dag blaggit. Oh, that's true.
That's my catchphrase actually. Dag blaggit.
Well, my channel's marked not safe for kids because I don't want kids to come on and watch and just spam me and stuff. Plus, I'm doing giveaways. You want to be 18 plus, and I don't want to, leave people out who get into it who are subscribers. So I try to keep in a pace there. But at the same time, we get so heated or so emotional about a subject, and we just naturally will say a swear word sometimes, just naturally. Yep. Some people
not
are
me,
more
never.
No, not you, Dubs. I mean, some people are more trained, like Ace. I hear you're a teacher.
It comes naturally. Like I can't help it. So like I'm hanging out with my buddies, things like that, jiu-jitsu, that kind of gym mentality. You'll often get that a lot. Well, cussing's come and hit left and right. But there's something about as soon as like I flick on that camera when I'm recording, it's almost like I'm in front of a class and like teaching. And so it's just the cuss word never comes out.
Right. Which I understand.
I never even try. It's not like I'm intending not to cuss on my channel, but I'm pretty sure I have yet to. But it's just almost like I feel like it's that teacher mode and it just doesn't happen.
Right. No, it makes sense. Because see, my wife for 18 years was a preschool teacher. And she loved her job, and she was the same way because she loved, and I don't know how well you're how well-rounded you are about teaching 2-year-olds, because she loved the 2-year-old class while everybody like fretted upon the dreaded 2-year-olds.
Yeah, I teach high school for a reason.
but and weirdly enough, she had to keep the other teachers in line from using swear words. And my wife, if motivated, can string a line of swear words. But no, it's good. Like I'm just saying, I don't like to swear a lot, but I just know it personally happens naturally sometimes. So that's why I don't care if people swear on my channel. That's why it's not marked safe for kids. I want you to feel comfortable, relaxed. Get into that. I'm not trying to be professional, but I'm kind of professional. Professionals do swear. I mean, that's why we have rap battles.
Well, most people swear because they don't have another word for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to say the F word than to come up with another word for that.
I got a word for that.
Dag Blaggett.
Dag,
There you go.
Fiddlesticks.
I tried not to swear on my channel, but then I streamed Dark Souls, and that went out the window.
oh yeah, dude. Streaming video games, man. There's a certain video game I won't play because it will string out the worst of me.
Well,
Yeah. I would agree. If I was playing a video game, I think they're just going to accidentally come out. I mean, in Magic, I at least have some foresight of what's coming up, but something jumps out at me. I remember the original Resident Evil when those dogs jump out the window. There's some words that come out.
Yep. See, chat. Let's catch up a chat. Oh, look. Mom says, "Good morning, Derek. You have a very handsome dad." Yes, I do. Too bad I stole like 120% of his good looks. All right.
You sure that ain't the other way around?
Yeah, same. Dag Blaggett. Yep. That's almost Hillbilly's catchphrase right there. Or it is.
You probably caused 120% of his gray hairs too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm so proud, you know. And Darc Raven loves Dark Souls. Woo woo. Yeah. Someone must be taking a nap. So I'll just put his command in chat. Woo. But no. So I mean, the nice thing about having Arena, because like I'm not a big fan of Arena, but I tried for a bit. Then my old computer died, and I had this new computer which can't run all my programs and Arena for some reason very well, so I can't play at Arena. But nice thing about Arena is it gives you an outlet to play, and it's easier to record, so you guys can do your channels like Ace and Hillbilly do.
I think we just buried the lead there. Did I just hear somebody say they don't love Arena?
I don't love Arena.
Oh my goodness. I think it is the greatest thing that has happened to Magic.
Oh, I just
Well,
like Arena tremendously.
Like I don't hate Arena. It's just after years of playing in store, I just really prefer in-person play, and I love being able to interact and see people's faces. You know, be able to like one of the things that bugs me the most is that if someone makes a misplay and you know it's a misplay in Arena, you can't be like, "Hey, dude, why don't you attack with this? This might help you better." You know, you can't tell them that. You know, that's what I miss. That's what I love about Arena. Like last night when Dubs and I were playing, someone made a play mistake, and Dubs caught it, and he's like, "Hey, dude, that doesn't do that way. So it does it this way." And you know, that's what I miss. That's what I don't like about Arena is you can't fix a problem. Like people can't cheat like that in Arena because this wasn't a purposely cheat. This person misunderstood the card, but like in Arena, when someone makes a mistake, like you know, is obviously the worst choice for them. You can't correct them to better them, because as a player myself, I rather people play to the optimized position, even if it's against my own good in the game, because I want the game to be fair and fun. And
I would love to see them maybe add like a chat feature where you could decide to have it on or off, but if both agree, you know, you can actually talk with a person when you're playing a game on Arena. I think that would be a fun thing to do in the future, because I do miss that social aspect. But again, there's going to be some people who just troll you, so it would have to be like an agreed upon. We both are having our chat on, and you can talk to that person during that game, yes or no, type of thing.
There's a problem with that though. Sometimes you'll get a toxic person come in,
100%.
and they'll come in, they'll call you names and stuff.
Then they get muted.
And then you just want to.
Yeah, I think Ace was just covering that pretty well too, because I think it would have to be a agreed upon thing. Hey, you want to enter a game? Yeah. Hey, you want to chat? Yeah. You know, say something. You can report them. You know, after every game, like after every game, you can give feedback about the player you just played against.
I never had report one person since I've been playing Arena, and I hate doing that.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
so I do my lives to have fun.
Right.
I don't make competitive decks.
I actually use Arena as a learning tool, because for example, yesterday when I was playing Commander at my LGS, somebody actually came up like from outside and was like, "Hey, what are you guys playing?" And I started talking to him about it, and he was like, "Well, I need to go." And I just went, "Here, best thing you can do is download MTG Arena, get into that, play, figure out roughly kind of what you want to do, what the different colors are, how to play. And then I told them, if you want to come to like next week on Saturday and play Commander with us, like you can sit down with almost anybody and they will help teach you how to play. Heck, I'm there every single Saturday. So come in, I'll help teach you the little stuff and play physically. But MTG Arena is such a good start because it's really difficult to just explain the whole entire game to somebody because they don't want to sit there and just be spat words at. Like
Right.
They want somebody there to help teach them and fuel it.
I think Arena is also a fantastic thing to find out what is your play style and what type of deck do you actually want.
Yes.
Instead of going out spending $400 on this deck, you're like, oh, this thing's garbage. Okay, you could test it out, figure out kind of what you like. Do I like aggro, mid-range, control, and then kind of narrow down your deck. Now I could go ahead and buy that thing, go to my local game store with it. Because so often, I remember like when there was no other option, you just had your decks, and I had like 2 or 3 decks, and that's it. But I mean, I personally, I love that variety. So it would have really been helpful to, can I test this deck out before I actually go in?
The buy-in for that on Arena, though, would be tremendous.
True.
That's why I like Magic the Gathering Online, because you can rent a deck for $10 a week. You can change it 8 times a day if you want, I almost won't load Arena anymore. If I'm going to play online, I'll play Magic Online.
It makes sense too. But what I want to say, one thing that's good about Arena is when you first start up and you have to play those specific decks against each other, like the white one, the red one, the black one, the green one, all 5 colors eventually. I think that's the best stepping stone to getting someone into the game there, like you were saying. Like it's a good teaching tool, you both were saying. But so yeah, there's good qualities about Arena. I don't hate Arena. I just don't like playing Arena. And like I said, I would play some more if my computer can handle it, or if my phone would actually handle it. But even though I upgraded my phone, about a year or so ago, Arena's too powerful for it. Because I'd like to get more into playing Arena, but I don't like the lack of interaction so much. Because I remember when I played for the first time, and I built this really solid deck, and I just kept playing and playing and playing. And sure, I did a good job because I've had this top tier deck built out of no time. But like at the same time, I'm like, it sucks that only people are saying good game or something. You can't interact, or you see someone who should like one time I was playing and someone killed the obviously wrong thing on my side of the board and let the right thing live. I'm like, I can't tell them that's the right target.
Yeah. No, I had a situation like that. I was playing Historic with the Scurry-O combo. I made a video on it. People were commenting, that deck doesn't have that high of a win percentage. I think 6 of my games, they kept killing my other creatures and not the Scurry-Oak, and they would let me combo off. I'm like, I can't help what they end up killing. And so, yeah, you'll see all sorts of those crazy errors.
Right. So, Arena is good. All right. It's not horrible. Right. I want to supplant that for sure. It's not horrible. It's not bad. I just don't care for it. That's all I want to say.
Most of the time when you tell somebody that they killed the wrong thing, they get salty anyway. So you're better off just not telling them.
But like every morning now, I'll wake up, get prepared for the live, watch MTG Hillbilly. Sometimes Ace's video will pop up and I'll watch him to see him play a game. Actually, I find it more entertaining now to watch him draft because that's hilarious. It's hilarious because it's fun. And it's like I'll argue with him why he should have picked another card or be like, that was an interesting pick. Why did you pick that card? Because I'm not dogging on you at all. I'm just saying it's just interesting.
Oh, it's totally fair. I have posted 2 draft videos for Wilds. Those are my only 2 drafts. I've watched nothing else yet. So yeah, they're not pretty at the moment.
You'll get better. But Stasis Orb, when he comes on, I don't know why this comment's still floating. But Stasis Orb, he'll come on Discord and he'll just live stream some drafts and we'll talk about his picks. And he's like really good with the limited. And so that'd be unfair to compare him to other people that haven't been to pro tours like him. But he'll play drafts and we'll talk about his picks and stuff. And it's fun. And so when I watch other people draft who come from a different realm of life, a different walk of life, and I'll be like, That's an interesting pick. Like that Karmic Justice dude. That was the best pick in that pack for me. But I love enchantments. I'm biased.
I think I missed that the most though. Like the local game store, that drafting experience. I want that table. I want whatever I drafted with. I want to now go play with those people.
Right, Michael Superpacker. Hello, welcome to the show.
What's your guys' favorite colors to draft, just in general?
Oh, it
It
entirely
varies
depends
on
on
the
what
set.
I open.
Because I've always found that either blue, black, or red, black tends to just be like the most predominant colors in draft. I mean, yeah, depending on the set, but I think they are just really, really powerful.
Well, blue and black are just powerful in general, just because of the removal that you have and the
Yeah, I would say
spells that
black
come
just
in.
overall, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Black,
but
black
like,
and red for removal, right? White if it has good removal, usually.
Right.
Good.
Because when you draft, you're looking for the best removal, the best creatures with evasion. You're looking for the best draw. So, however that mixes in your little bread acronym there, that's going to shape the way you draft. That's why your favorite colors to draft in a set is always different, because it shifts the power level. Like mono red, sometimes the most busted color if you just stick to mono red in a set because it's too aggressive. So it's really hard to pick one thing. If you're a draft fanatic, you'll understand that completely. Let's see.
I would say also that we were talking about like new players learning on Arena. The other way I would suggest for a new player to learn would be to just go draft with people who are like friendly, who will kind of like help you, with leaving you with some agency, but like kind of also help you through the game. That's how we always taught people how to play.
Mm-hmm. Darc says I'm not a fast player, but I play within time limit. My occupational therapist said actually told me to play MTG for brain connections to be remade. That's actually a pretty solid advice there, because you're forcing your brain to think and be active. I like that.
And that's actually helped me in the same way, since I'm a survivor of 2 ruptured brain aneurysms, a seizure, and a stroke. It's actually helped me too. I understand exactly where she's coming from on that.
And Darc Raven says blue. I'll play blue. I'll draft blue all day, just because I'm biased with blue. But I try to go for the strongest packs, the strongest colors in my packs. Yeah,
I would say at least
it
past
was
couple of years, blue might be the weaker color in draft, but because of that, so many people pass it. And so if you're the one drafting it, you're getting everything.
Right. Like, I love limited. I love drafting. James in chat could attest to how much I love drafting cube. So I love cube. I think limited is the fairest and best way to play Magic besides Commander. What?
Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Because the cube environment, it's a very powerful way to draft limited, because it's like the best cards you find and love, and you're drafting archetypes, and no matter how you splash colors, you're always going to have good colors, because everything's designed usually to formulate together for different decks, so limited is just obviously for me is one of the best ways to be better at Magic, because it teaches you and lets you play with cards you normally don't get to play with in a standard set, to see how powerful they are. Like Commander used to be like that, but it's not like that much anymore with the power creep we've had. But limited will let you play a 6 mana 8/8 that comes and play tapped and sacrifices 2 lands. Very bad downside, but see how powerful that is in the game. That's what's unique about limited. And that's what I miss about the in-store LGS play. But Arena, luckily, nicely has draft on demand. I think it's weird.
I do love limited for that aspect of almost it reminds me of those first few months when you play and you think that 8/8 is the greatest thing ever and it costs 8 mana. But you can still pull some of those things off in limited, whereas once you're getting into just regular standard, it's now all these big bombs that look cool, they're pretty much useless and they don't go in any deck because it's such a fast format.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the
Right.
Murktide Regent scenario where like Murktide Regent is just a big body and that's it. But like in limited, you want those big bodies because it's really hard to deal with. The only reason why Murktide Regent is played because of how fast you can play it. But in limited, you just need those big bodies because what are they going to do? Block an 8/8? No.
Right. But really quick, I will, because we're in the middle of the show, I want to shill out carnsartopia.com, where we get the sweets, magic swag on this channel. We got dice bags, dice boxes, we got little dice pets or dice dragons, as she calls them. All these little things. You should check her out, her website out for great things. And thank you for sponsoring this channel.
I bought a dice bag from her and it looks absolutely amazing.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Oh, Hillbilly, you're on top of it. Nice. Hillbilly, you're awesome. But yeah.
I can't say enough about that site because, oh my God, her work is so beautiful.
Right, yeah.
I put on there.
You saw it?
Derek, you got a handsome dad.
Well, I got 6 minutes left on this and the
Oh,
drain.
and then I gotta put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start the muffins. But, yeah.
I love you too, Mom.
Tell Derek Mom loves him.
He heard you.
All right, that's funny. I wonder how much of that conversation she knows is live. Oh,
Well, she knows it's live.
oh, that's good because it's gonna be recorded on YouTube for the rest of life. You got a very handsome dad.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
You know, I don't use my ring light as much, so I should probably start wearing my glasses again. I can look as handsome as you times 2. Yeah.
Well, you got about 20 years to go.
True, but I'll grow into it.
Yeah, you will.
All right. Woo, man! I just had like an adrenaline rush. My body's kind of backing down for a bit, relaxing. Well, so we talked about limited arena, which is neat, and we've talked about in-store play a bit, but not enough, I don't think. So let's get back to that. In-store play. I don't get to see in-store play, but at the same time, I know numbers have dropped, especially since lockdown. It's dropped a lot and has been having a hard time. But what I've been noticing, and this is I'm trying to segue into standard, is that Pro Tour is trying to be pushed for more attention. Sadly, I don't get enough Pro Tour content on YouTube. I don't see it pop up on YouTube saying Pro Tour event. I think they have that all on Twitch, which I think is completely BS because Twitch is not as good as YouTube to me. But like, and I know when they host an event because I get the notifications from Wizards of the Coast all the time when they post something. So if they're trying to revitalize Pro Tour, why don't they both use Twitch and YouTube? Because I think Pro Tour is one of the most exciting things to watch about Magic. Mm-hmm. Have you guys watched the Pro Tour on any social media platforms?
Dude, I remember the Hour of Devastation Pro Tour when the Hazared was still around. That was some of the most hype stuff I've ever seen.
Right?
Oh, those finals, like when that dude just made that slight misplay whenever he needed to play the one spell before he played, before he moved to combat with Hazaret, was just absolutely amazing. Even seeing top players misplay and top players making moves that you're like, that doesn't make any sense, but it turns around and has them win the whole entire thing. It is absolutely amazing. And it really helps, I think, boost how you play, how you see the game, and how you can go and look at a Pro Tour and be like, what? This card is garbage. How does that work? And then they go and play it and you're like, oh my gosh, this card's amazing.
Oh yeah. Pro players have a really, really good, unique way of looking at Magic that I try to pick up on when building my cube, and I've seen other people pick up on, because the more you play Magic, the more you get familiar with it. The more you know what the good cards are. and that's kind of how they are, but further advanced. I think they bring a unique spin to the game, and I like the Pro Tour because it shows you the reality of how tough it is. Because I remember when was it BDM was in Pro Tour. Not Brian David Marshall, but Brian something. I can't remember his name, but he was playing a Bant deck because Tortoise loves Bant, and he's playing Bant deck, and it was like the main control deck of the time when one of the Innistrad blocks were legal with the Bant colored Tamio in there, field researcher, and that was like the main deck. And man, that whole tournament was nuts. My wife doesn't like playing Magic very much, other than standard based decks like constructed 60s. And the one thing we do together would be watch Pro Tour. We love watching the intensity, the shallowness of it, the creativity of it, the effort people in, the sportsmanship. It was like, to us, that's like watching a football game. My dad loves football. If you ever met him, he looks like Freddy Cougar right now. That's a joke about the shirt. But it's one of the events that got us into Magic together a lot, and she loved going to F&Ms when we could. But then Standard got expensive because during this time they decided to release a new set every month, basically. Every set they're rotating, like every 3 months they would rotate out, rotate in. It was insane. Because they wanted to speed up Standard, and that didn't do well. Then they changed it, and it was like a little too late for us to get back in the game because that really, really sidetracked her. But altogether, going back, the Pro Tour is something I'd like to see more in the light of, because I think Pro Tour, if successful, especially with Standard, will revitalize the Standard metagame and life that we so wish there was more of in Magic. Because Commander shouldn't be the all-time favorite anymore. I mean, I loved Commander since its inception that I knew of it. But at the same time, it was always like the fallback format. Like if you wanted to step away from the regular Magic, you go into Commander. Now it's like you're getting to Commander. Then you can look over and you're like, oh, there's Standard, whatever Standard over there, But like I think Standard needs more light. And maybe I'm just long-winded right here and just taking over, and I don't mean to. But what I'm getting at is like I think Standard needs more light. In the public, in the store, in the forefront, because honestly, that's what sells Magic is the newer packs.
I think what people want to see more, which I think some of the main formats are, so you got Modern, obviously, which is just a powerhouse, and then you have Commander, and then there are very few people who play Standard, Legacy, Vintage, even like I don't see very many people play things like Pioneer. I've seen people play Pauper, but that's just because I play it. But not a lot of people do, I think, all around. I think it's mostly just you play Modern, you play Commander. That's kind of it.
Pioneer's got like some decent amount of players.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, far
that's
north.
all my that's all my local game store does is Modern, Pioneer, and Commander. They don't do Standard with all.
The thing is, though, like I think if you want to attract any new players, it's going to be Commander. It's going to be Standard. Like, what new player are you getting into Modern, Pioneer where you have these decks that are thousands of dollars?
Right.
Like, and so I would love to see, and the Pro Tour, I'm a huge fan of. Like next weekend, World Championships, I'm watching as much of that coverage as possible. And with that, though, I would like them to shift it. Wild Eldraine came out a couple weeks ago. Move your World Championship up, or move whatever Pro Tour up to basically correlate with that release. Get us hyped up for that new set to go out and buying it. And now, okay, our pros have already now had a few weeks of practice, things like that. No, I want to see that pro. You haven't got to sit there and play test with these cards on Arena for a couple weeks and things like that. Really show us that skill level. And I also think It's going to hype everybody up for the new set, new cards, all these combinations maybe we hadn't thought of. We get to see it right off the bat. So I think that's one way to help Standard. I think as a viewer too, I would be even more excited to see the World Championships at that point.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
because then just having people immediately get the set and be like, oh, well, I'm going to make this kind of deck. I'm going to see how this works and all that. It'll make people then look at the set and be like, wow, there's some cool cards in this, and make their own stuff. And then go, hey, I think this is really cool. Because then as the meta changes things over time with the new set coming out, you'll see those sets at the beginning and go, wow, those sucked in comparison to the later versions. But it was still really cool to see at the time they're playing with cards they have no clue like what they do or how they interact with other things.
Oh yeah,
that's a great point, because the pros would make these decks and we would think they would be so awesome, but they would be the initial iteration of them, and a month later, like we'd be like, oh my gosh, that pro was so wrong. How did they choose that? You know, but I think that would just be a great thing to see.
Right, and you know what? One thing I loved about some of the Pro Tours is when they mixed up the formats, but always have Standard as a part of it. Because like if Modern was the main format, they would have a Standard draft. And I love watching that. The Standard to me should always be part of the Pro Tour somewhere, from draft or the Standard. You know, I think that's to me that's a good idea. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn here, what I wish, but because you know we look up to the pros when they're playing, when we were watching them play and watching their the decks they play and how they play, because that's how we learn from them. You know. Because you know, Lord knows that Wizards of the Coast is not going to create those championship decks anymore, so we can get a sneak peek.
Oh, you know, I miss those.
Right, those are cool.
So cool. I still have some of the cards from a lot of those because my stepdad had a bunch of them. They're so cool seeing like a Manticore. Like, who in their right mind would play Manticore nowadays? But seeing that and being like, man, people actually played this card and it was good back then.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a big beater threat back then. It's like, wow. Now we got the Ragavans and the Murktide Regents that are taking over that are like double the power, double the effects that you'd want for something like Manticore, like Survival of the Fittest and things.
Right. No, you're right. Like, and one thing I think I should hone in on, I think is the most important thing about the Pro Tour, is it brought a good, healthy relationship between Wizards and the viewers to the game, because the viewers are people who already invested in the game, who like the game. And I think that's the best way that a relationship was built between Wizards of the Coast and us, because they let them know that they cared enough about their game. They wanted to support the game, but they want to support us. They want to bring us entertainment, but they're willing to say, hey, this is where we are at. Because back in the day, because I don't know how the Pro Tour system works as of today, but I remember back in the day, the big dream was, if I was good enough at Magic, I could make a living just playing Magic, you know? And I know they changed a lot of things, so it's not that easy. But, you know, sponsorships and stuff, the dream could still be there. I think they should highlight that, because the friendship, the relationship that we had with Wizards of the Coast was a lot stronger, I think, where now every day everybody got their underwear in the twist, complaining about reprints and everything, which I understand where some issues come in. But like at the same time, when it comes to playing the game, we want to be able to enjoy the game, get in the game, and process the game as a fun game. You know, I mean, do you guys want to expand on that in any way?
I would love to for a minute. I'll touch on the reprints thing, and I'm going to connect it to Standard, because I think that part of the reason that Standard isn't a healthy format is because 10 years ago, when you bought into Standard, there was an expectation that some of the cards would accumulate value over time. So you had this expense to get into the format, but then like you had all the shock lands, or you got all the fetch lands, or whatever was in Standard at that time. You got these game pieces that had long-term value. And when they would rotate out of Standard, some of them would lose value, but then some of them would gain value.
Right.
The way that it is now, doesn't matter. You're going to buy in. It doesn't matter because everything's getting reprinted anyway. So nothing is going to gain value. If it does, it's only going to be a very short period of time. You have a short window to get out of it for a profit before it gets chopped by another reprint. So people don't want to buy into Standard because there's not that there's not any return on that initial investment, and then you're constantly having to refresh the deck with every set. But the cards are all just, if any of them do get any value, they get caught with another reprint, and the value is just never there. So you're just constantly buying in, and there's nothing on the back end for you.
Right.
That's why I love Pauper as a format, because I mean, what set came out where all that glitters got downshifted? It was such like it was all that glitters and like Dread Return were some cards that like the Pauper community was like popping off whenever they saw those cards, because they were like, we have only seen those in modern decks, we've only seen them in some standard decks, and being able to completely change the format and change how we make decks just because of those downshifts and reprints. Like, I understand that like sometimes reprints are like, oh well, it's a rare this set, okay, it's another rare in this set as well, but with just different art. That kind of sucks, and I would want that diversity of, oh, these are new cards that you have no clue what they do. They could completely warp a format. They could, be bulk rares. But having downshifts just in general, I don't think are as good, because unless it's down to common where it adds to another format. But other than that, I don't think reprints are that great, because if you're going to reprint something, just say, oh yeah, by the way, it's legal in this other format now, because why have that slot in a whole new set when you can either make a whole new card that has a different name to where other formats can have multiples of them, or just say, hey, it's legal in this format now.
Well, I think I got a point where we can kind of pinpoint the reprint issue of value being a thing. I can't remember the pro player's name, but there was a draft in the pro tour where this guy draft picked a Termagoyf, not because it was good for his deck, but it was worth major money, because he wanted to make money. He wanted to be able to sell it for food and stuff while he was out in the pro tour. And I think Wizards took offense to that in a way, because it made them kind of look bad in their own eyes, I guess, because the guy obviously had a better pick that was in the pack, but he went for the money pick instead, and I think that took assault. But I believe Richie is right, and I had Magic MV, because I think there should be.
Can I speak on the Tarmogoyf really quick?
Yeah.
I think that it was defensible to take the Tarmogoyf, because you're at a Grand Prix and you get a foiled date stamped Tarmogoyf, and that card was huge at that time. It's a completely defensible pick, and it was the outrage was actually just other players on Twitter.
No, you're good.
So
no,
he was being attacked by other people who felt that he shouldn't have made that decision. But ultimately, he bought into that. That was his event. He could take whatever card he wants.
Well, there's two ideas when it comes to draft, too. There's some people who just do money drafts, and some people who do actual, like, they want to play. They want to win, because there's a chance that they get additional packs or the rewards from them that they'll possibly get more money off it. Because sometimes you'll choose the worst draft. Like, I know I've done drafts where I'll sit there and look at the deck and be like, this deck is garbage. I just chose cards that I was like, well, this is the best option, and I somehow go 2-1 or 2-0-1. Be like, wow, this is really cool. And then I'll rip a pack open from one of those wins and be like, man, I got this really good card from it. And then sometimes you draft to be like, oh, these are really good. These are money cards, and you don't do as well, but hey, you maybe got a couple bucks out of it.
To go really back to the reprint thing, though, like from Wizards' standpoint, I think what they were intending was almost this nostalgia of it. You played this card 5-10 years ago. Oh, it's back in standard now, and it gets people excited. I think that was one aspect they were looking at. And then, of course, there's the other aspect. If you have all these new players and people are complaining about other formats, that card's so expensive to get into. Oh, well, the reprint, it lowers it. So I know on MTG Goldfish, on their podcast, I've heard them talk a few times about like, oh, we need those reprints to make cards cheaper. But then I get the standpoint that you just said, though. If I'm actually somebody who already invested, I don't want my card going down in value. So it's really this double-edged thing. And I see what Wizards was doing, but it sounds like it kind of is a bit of a backfire for them.
Well, when you want to get into an older format, you want to get into modern, you don't want to spend $1,000 to buy into an expensive modern. You can get into Burn for a couple $100. You know,
Dude, I actually had a whole conversation with somebody online about how
The-
Burn and Modern and Pauper are like the exact same deck, and they're the exact same price, and they're both a top tier deck. It is hilarious how cheap it is, but is also really good.
the only real prohibitive factor to get into a new format would be the reserve list for things like dual lands. But that's completely off the reprint topic. And then the other thing with reprints that you mentioned was you said it puts the card into standard, but that's the thing. Most of the time it doesn't, because most of the time it's Modern Masters, or most of the time it's like Brothers War with all the artifacts, where it didn't affect the legality, or like the Mystical Archives, or we just had in this, they don't affect the legality, so it's not actually putting the cards in standard. They're just trying to capitalize on the desirability and the value that some of these older cards hold. But in capitalizing on that, they're tanking that value. You can only go back to the well so many times. But
Right.
meanwhile, everybody who held those cards, like you just said, we're left holding the bag.
Right.
All the cards that I collected for the last 20 years are worth a fraction of what they were worth five years ago.
Right. And I think as part of an issue, but as part of a solution, both an issue and a solution for two different things, because one's an issue for one thing, one's a solution for another. I think the reprint market coming up is helping newer players get into cards that they would have known to look for from older formats, like some older formats that bring to light saying, hey, like Karmic Justice, this is a card that exists. Why don't you look at it? This is a good card for your commander deck. This is a good card for here. Where people who've held their Karmic Justices for years, like, oh, these are like money cards, let's keep them. There's like, crap, we just got slammed. You know, it's both a solution for one thing and an issue for another.
The other thing, speaking on Arena too, when you had Strixhaven, which had the Mythical Archives, and now Wilds Eldraine, we have all these cards. One, it does make a draft format more interesting. Like there's these new random things. So that's a positive. The other thing is, if you're talking about Arena and you have a new player, well, how are they going to start getting into Historic? Because there's so much. It starts to build their collection a little bit. It might spark their interest. So again, from Wizard's standpoint, they're like, oh, good. Somebody gets into Historic, they're about to spend a lot of wild cards. They're about to spend a lot of money. And getting those like few awesome cards that you can't use in standard might get a few people over. So again, for them, obviously everything they're doing, it's dollars and cents. So
they could just implement dusting on Arena, and then it would be anybody could get into Historic tomorrow. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah.
But they're being predatory there as well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Dusting should be a thing on Arena for sure.
The economy is a whole other hour pot.
Like even the dusting required a lot of like, even if they made like a cheap dusting system where you got low value for your cards you don't want anymore and had to save up for like a higher amount, you know, make you work for it, that'd still be a better option than no dusting.
Well, because you could do the Hearthstone thing, because we're dusting obviously from Hearthstone, and how whenever they do it, if they nerf a card, there's an option of being able to refund like the dust for it completely, because some people will spend, you know, a lot of money to make this really good deck, but then if they nerf a card, there's the option of, hey, we nerfed this card because it was maybe too good. Do you want basically your money back because you spent all this time and effort to get this? So then you can take that dust and then make other cards to make better decks.
You know, the most beautiful thing about this conversation is no one's brought up alchemy.
Oh, screw alchemy, dude. I hate that format.
So do I.
All right, here you go. We got a let's see. Far North Magic says part of the problem for Wizards is, do you reprint the cards a couple times before you obsolete the card through power creep or not? That is a very good point too. Very, very good point, because like how many times, like how much, like how drained of a value do you get for printing cards several times, especially when we had, what was it, doubling season and another card reprinted two sets in a row. I mean, wow,
That's too quick of a reprint.
Right.
That just happened to Urza too, right? Or wasn't Urza just in 2 sets back to back?
I think I don't know if it was back to back, but very close.
Very
like
close,
less than 6 months apart, I believe. But it was insane in the membrane. Now time to relieve my brain a bit. So I was going to open the song. Does anybody here know Tenacious D?
Heck
I know
yeah.
Tenacious D. I'm
Yeah,
familiar.
so I'm gonna swear a little bit because I was gonna open the song saying "I karate kick your ass from here to right over there." And I was gonna sing the whole song just because of Ace MTG. Yeah, it was awesome. But like,
It's better than Kung Fu Fighter.
right? Tenacious D
I thought
doesn't
he was
give
going
me
to sing
flight.
Classico.
Oh, dude, that would be so hard for me.
I could sing it.
But yeah, well, cardiac kick your ass is such a, that was stuck in my head all morning too because I was thinking, man, Ace is gonna be on. I'm like, hell yeah. Oh, Ace, you should have seen Hillbilly's reaction when I told him you were the special guest. He was flipping heads.
I know we
Yeah.
still have to set it up where I'm supposed to hop on his stream and still be able to play. So
Yeah, something kind of like this, and we'll play a deck, talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's always fun. I always love new people, but you're always welcome on. I know you got a busy weeks ahead of you because someone's birthday's coming up
next weekend.
Happy early birthday!
Thank you.
Happy early birthday!
What are you turning 20 years old? No.
Yeah, go ahead, take a guess. What do you think?
I think you're probably around 34.
37.
40.
Wish on both accounts. 41.
Ooh,
That's
you're a
close.
young looking 41.
I wish I was 41
Look, I got
again.
all this gray in my beard, and I'm turning 40 next year.
Oh, are you?
cool.
I thought you were 40 already.
No, and I'm 39. 40
I'm 39
next
also.
year. Yeah, it's like 40 years, my golden birthday, because everything's an even number, I guess. Because I was at 8/24/24 is my birthday next year.
I got 4 weeks and I'll be 40.
Woo woo! We're very handsome 40.
Ooh,
I'll be 49 in January.
Hell yeah!
I don't remember
I got
40.
I don't remember.
Envy Magic is the youngest person here.
Yep, there's me.
That's cool. But what I want to reiterate is, Ace, like whenever you're free and you want to hop on, you're welcome to hop on.
Yeah, I'll definitely stay in touch.
So, so me and Darc were apparently born 2 weeks apart.
Woo.
I'm the guilty one
in
of
the same year.
I'm the guilty one of telling Tortoise about you too, Ace.
Oh, I love the word of mouth. Doing things like this is so much fun. I love meeting new people. I love talking about the game anyway. So all the different topics, love it.
Hey, Cookie Dude, aren't these youngins funny? Cookie Dude's about your age, Dad. James Willis is about your age. Yeah, but no, yeah,
We're
like
interrupting snack 30.
snack 30, right? Well, because like I like to try to get different people's unique opinions on the show because I am 100% biased and I try not to be. I know everybody else has their own opinion, so I love everybody to share their opinion, have their own side. Like Cookie Dude doesn't even play Magic; he's actually only played the game once, and that's just so he can say he played the game with me. And I have a picture of it somewhere.
Did he win?
And,
Yeah, that was my question too.
and so yeah, like so I like to have a diverse community, but I like to have good personalities, and I think. One thing I should say, because I want to say, because I said to my wife before, that you being a teacher is amazing. You're shaping the world. You're shaping minds, So thank you for what you do. That's important stuff to actually be involved with.
Love doing it. So
and trust me.
You can't teach if you don't love it. You're out of there.
Trust me. I know that sometimes it's the hardest thing you can do, and sometimes it's the most beautiful thing you can do.
100%.
Right. And that's coming from a wife's experience. But with that, we're going to start wrapping up the show. So I want to say thank you, Richie, for being on the show. Thank you, MV Magic.
Yep, that's me.
Coogie Dude, thank you for being here. Woo-hoo. Hillbilly.
Woohoo.
And Ace.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys rock. And today we're going to end on. Well, you want to say something, Hillbilly?
Saying thank you for having me.
Thank you,
All right,
Tortoise.
no problem. So we're going to end on Devastation.
Armageddon, annihilation, white hot tentacles of doom spit fire, venom.